Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox. The time 8:25 on the East Coast and 5:25 on the West Coast. Fires are burning all over northern Israel, caused by Hezbollah rockets constantly launched at Israel. This is a post right here from Eylon Levy, former Israeli government spokesperson, with a picture there. And it says Iran wants to light Israel on fire and watch it burn. This is northern Israel after a rocket attack by its Lebanese proxy army Hezbollah. The aggression must stop. Do want to bring in a guest to talk more about this and the situation there in the Middle East. Dr. Asaf Romarowski is the executive director of Scholars for Peace in the Middle East. He's a friend of the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Good morning, and thank you as always for having me.
Good morning. So first off, what do we know about these fires? Because it seems as though there is a constant barrage of rockets that are being fired by Hezbollah from Lebanon over at Israel.
Correct. So as the tweet, correctly states, he's not wrong, Levy, about the fact that there has been a desire to basically flare up, literally, the North. And what you're feeling is now from a kind of a geopolitical from a kind of a structure is the fact that because all eyes are on Rafah now as far as the south and dealing with Hamas and the hostages and conversations between Washington and Jerusalem, basically the north is kind of left open. And in that regard, that the Israelis haven't been doing surgical attacks in areas of Syria, Lebanon, as far as Iranian officials, Iranian individuals who are involved with the Iranian Guard and other very problematic individuals, to say the least. But they are indeed following a playbook where basically they have forced Israeli citizens to push them out of their homes. There are about 100,000 Israeli displaced citizens between the north and the south. People are evacuating. There's a shortage of food and supply issues that are coming into the north. And they're literally, there are people who have been suffering from smoke inhalation and other kind of issues that are coming in addition to everything else. They're not able to live their own lifestyle. And so Hezbollah is taking advantage of the situation, and Israel to date has yet to open up an actual front in the north. What they've been doing is using the Air Force, but there's no ground troop, there's no boots on the ground, and Hezbollah is egging them on. And that's all coming directly out of the Islamic Republic of Iran. All of these are Iranian proxies.
What's interesting is so much attention is being paid to the situation in Gaza and Hamas overall, but it sounds as though from a lot of experts I've spoken to that Hezbollah might have more resources, so to speak, because you are seeing that constant barrage of rockets.
100%. Hezbollah is as I said, a direct proxy of Iran. And what that also means that they are a subsidiary of Iranian support financially and militarily. They do have guidance missiles. They have long-range missiles. They can reach, and you can see they've been able to reach center parts of Israel. That's the main concern. They're definitely able to reach central parts of the north. And so the larger concern is of them trying to flare up the area. And they're edging Hezbollah to the border. Again, they're trying to get Israel to flex its muscles and put boots on the ground. And the Iranians are funding all of this. Since the attacks, the direct attacks, so we saw evidence proving that Iran, after the drone attack on Israel, Hezbollah is following suit directly with all of this. The main concern has always been with Hezbollah. Going back to 2015, for example, after the signing of the JCPOA, for Hezbollah, it's never been a question of whether or not that if they want a war with Israel, it's a question of when. And the when aspect has always, demanded, or basically was focused on the amount of capability and incentive. And that's the money that's coming in. So long as they're getting funded by Iran, and if Iran gets more money, Hezbollah gets that. Hezbollah has conventional capabilities, not WMDs, but that's the concern always been, whether or not there will be smuggling of potential non-conventional weaponry to the north, and whether they would use it. Clearly, if they have the opportunity, they will take it. They are brazen about this. and they are looking to make this happen. And make no mistake, the Hezbollah fighters are as motivated, as equipped, and as trained as Hamas ones, and they should be taken very seriously as far as their military capability. And the same tactics that we saw that are being used in the south, in Gaza, as far as the tunnel smuggling and the terror tunnels, are the same kind of tactics that Hezbollah also uses.
And I do want to take you to a sad update that we did receive from the IDF. They are saying that an additional 4 hostages are confirmed murdered in captivity. So my question for you, does this raise even more concerns about the conditions, the health of those remaining hostages?
100% that they do. I mean, and the fact of the matter is that some of the people who died in this footage that you're putting up now were actually featured on videos in Gaza, which means that they were actually killed in Gaza after they were kidnapped. Every day that goes by, the concern for the safety and the well-being of the hostages is indeed on the table. These are indeed older individuals. So you're seeing that they would have fallen within the categorization of the people Israel has been demanding to bring back, as far as elderly, women, and children and whatnot. And here you have 4 men that were found killed after they were taken hostage inside of Gaza. All of that is definitely of great concern. There's a great deal of pressure coming down on Israel now to try to accept this brokered deal, the Qataris, the Egyptians, and the announcement that President Biden made last Friday, as far as a beginning of what they call this 3-phased plan, as a beginning to try to make that happen. It is unclear. The Israeli government is saying that there were some missing points, key points, from what they agreed to and what was announced in the public. The main sticking point is the fact that Hamas is calling for an immediate cessation of the war itself, whereas the Israelis are saying not yet, not until the job is done, while at the same time we want to bring back the hostages. Again, this tension, this psychological warfare, and the amount of pressure that's coming down on the Israeli government continues to escalate as they find more and more evidence and more bodies of hostages.
And that is a good point, because we do know that Netanyahu had said the war would not end immediately. President Biden, when he spoke, made it sound like that had been agreed upon by Israel. So there is some kind of disconnection there. You have Biden saying one thing, Netanyahu saying another. So my question for you, are we any closer to a potential deal than we were, let's say, a few weeks ago or months ago?
Unclear. It goes, it's a lot of touch and go, so to speak. There's a lot of dangling of information, and of course the hostages as the main bargaining chip for all of this. But the fact of the matter is that every time we see a re-upping of an attack, more attacks coming out of the south, out of Gaza, out of Rafah, the attacks that are coming in the north, all of that is with the sole intention, again, putting pressure on the Israelis to continue to try to flex their muscles and push them in at least 2 to 3 different directions at the same time. So it's not clear yet. I think that the Israeli government and the Israeli people indeed have been going almost 8 months in this war itself. There's a lot of suffering. People are really in a state of PTSD, to say the least, not to mention the amount of pressure coming on Netanyahu itself. And there are threats within Netanyahu's own government as far as dismantling the government if he doesn't move this along. So the question of at any cost is a very delicate question, but make no mistake, and this was the biggest sticking point with the proposal made that was announced by the Biden administration, was the fact that in this proposal, if you read it, it seems like, of course, Hamas has a seat at the table in the day after tomorrow scenario. That is an unacceptable scenario that the Israelis can live with. They know the ramifications, and they live it daily of 10/7, and they do not want to go back to that. And the total annihilation and dismantlement of Hamas in its current configuration and future configuration is what's on the table for the Israelis, trying to protect the citizens of both the North and the South, though obviously we're hearing a great deal of concern that the North now feels that they're being abandoned by the government while Israel is fighting in the South.
All right, Dr. Asaf Romarowski, thank you so much for taking the time, as always, to join us and help break down the latest developments here out of the Middle East. Anything else that you want to add about any of this before I let you go?
No, I think I'm okay for now, but I'm sure that there'll be more to unpack and discuss as things develop daily.
For sure. All right, thank you again for being here with us.
Thank you.